This coding question submitted to the ChiroCode and Chiropractic Compliance Solutions Help Desk is regarding low-level laser. So the question is, what is the code for the low-level laser? And before we provide the answer to that, I do have just a brief disclaimer to review with you. These responses in these videos are short answers based upon the ChiroCode and Chiropractic Compliance Solutions Common Help Desk questions. They're not intended as legal advice, and they also don't include specific policy or state guidelines where those might apply. Providers are responsible for verifying these specific guidelines as they may pertain to them, such as your policy and state guidelines. Providers are also responsible for verifying content of the responses given in these short videos. However, the information provided in these help desk responses is understood to be the most current and accurate available. So now moving on to respond to the question, what is the code for low-level laser? So the cold laser is another description for the low-level laser. And the best code for that is a HCPCS code. It's S8948, which is defined as an application of a modality requiring constant provider attendance to one or more areas of the body, the low-level laser each 15 minutes. So a couple of tips before you use this particular code. First, you want to make sure with this code, as with any other code, that you review the description completely. I have included the entire code description in this first bullet as I just read over for you. A couple of things though, you want to make sure that you meet all of those criteria because not meeting the code criteria does pose some vulnerability to your practice. So a couple of things just to consider here. You must meet the minimum time requirement. This code is a timed code, a 15-minute code. In order to be considered one full unit, the standard accepted coding guideline allows 8 to 22 minutes is to be considered for one full unit. So the code is not billable unless that minimum time is met, meaning you must perform the laser therapy for a minimum of 8 minutes in order for the laser therapy to be billed. The next thing I want to notice to you, make a notice for you, is that constant provider attendance requirement is in the code description. So you want to make sure that you're aware of the constant attendance guideline in your state. This can usually be verified online or just by contacting your local state chiropractic association or society because they'll have that particular information. If the low-level laser code, the S code, isn't accepted by your policy, as it isn't by some because it is a HCPCS code, there are a couple of other options for you. The 97039 is an unlisted modality, and in this you'd specify the type and time if it's constant attendance. And so this would be your most likely other option if the S8948 wasn't permitted by a particular policy. And instead you would just use this on your claim form, and then you would define the type of service it is because this is an unlisted code, and you would define that in the red shaded area. So you'd most likely type in low-level laser or cold laser in that red shaded area to define the service. The other option here is 97139, which is an unlisted therapeutic procedure. Again, another unlisted code, and you would treat that the same. You would code the 97139, and then in that red shaded area, go ahead and define low-level laser or cold laser in that particular area. Couple of tips before we move on and conclude this particular question. As always, the coverage for this code depends upon the policy benefits and limitations. You must diagnose to support this service if you're billing it, just as you would for any other service that you are billing. You want to make sure that you're diagnosing and pointing accordingly. And then make sure the unit you have is indeed a low level or a cold laser. There are a lot of other units out there, such as there's hot lasers, and there's LED that aren't actual true lasers, particularly the LED, because a lot of times people are tricked into thinking that the LED is a true laser. You want to make sure that you have a true laser if you're billing the S code, because that is specific to low-level laser and cold laser. If you have an LED unit, if you are using an infrared unit, that also isn't laser, and if you have a hot laser, that is also not low-level or not cold laser. Any of those cases, you'd want to use a different code. The infrared actually does have its own code, so that would be the code you'd use for that. And if you have a hot laser or if you have an actual LED unit, then you'd only be able to use these other codes here, the 97039 or 97139. That S code that I mentioned on the first slide there would not apply in the cases of infrared, LED, or hot laser. So you want to make sure that you know exactly what you're using. If you're not sure that you have the low-level laser or the cold laser, check with the manufacturer just to confirm always best to collect information from them so you have that evidence and that record on file showing that you do have a true cold laser or low level laser if you're using the S8948 code. Otherwise, again, for LED and hot laser, you definitely want to stick only with these unlisted codes that are here on this slide that you're seeing now. And if you have infrared, is another code for the infrared unit if you have infrared and are billing infrared, and that's going to be covered in another quick question tip for you that's recorded within this tips library. And finally, if you have other quick questions, you may submit these to compliantchiro.com. And you can also visit that website to learn more about products and services that are available. You can also visit the ChiroCode website, which is shown on your screen, as well as the Compliant Chiro website that's shown on the screen as well, just to learn more about the products and services that are available with these organizations. Otherwise, join us back for more videos of quick questions that are covered in our help desk submissions.